The H&K MR762A4. That's going to be H&K's newest iteration of the MR762 battle rifle, DMR rifle, precision rifle. And I tell you what, there's some pretty major updates in this rifle that, as the thumbnail states, I truly feel like H&K has nailed it with this thing. So what I plan to do in this video, now that I've got a couple of hundred rounds on this rifle, is bring you through my experience shooting the A4, show you what it's capable of, say at 100 yards for groups, and then downrange out to 1,000 yards. And at the end of the video, we'll wrap up with kind of a summary of my thoughts and feelings around this rifle. So if you're interested in learning more about the 762A4, stick around because this is going to be a blast. Now really quick, let's chat about my relationship with H&K. So this is a rifle, once it came out, I want to say at the end of 2024 or early 2025, I was extremely excited about it and I knew I wanted to get my hands on one and acquire one here for the channel. You've seen me shoot the older A1 series, I believe it was an LRP3 previously on the channel. And I titled that video The Extremely Average DMR. It was a nice rifle, but I wasn't super impressed with it. But once I saw what was in this A4, I realized they had updated many of the things that I was not that happy with in the A1 series. So with that, when I went down to SHOT Show earlier this year, the H&K MR556A4 as well as 762A4 were top of my list on booths to visit. So I go by the H&K booth, I got connected with one of the marketing gals there, and she tuned me into their industry purchase program. So I do have money invested in this rifle, but there is an industry program that I use to purchase this at a discounted price. So just kind of understand that. Beyond that, there's no support from H&K. This thing was purchased and funded by myself. So that is how I acquired the rifle. H&K, they probably have no clue who I am other than I was a guy at SHOT Show asking for support, obviously. But that's how I acquired the rifle. Now with that, throughout this video, what you're gonna see is the performance. So it's just gonna be on video. It is what it is. So thank you to H&K for the opportunity to purchase this through the industry program. And like I say, I'm really excited to bring this rifle to you. Now, what are the updates in the A4 series over the A1? Now there's probably a long list, but I'm gonna call out the key things that I noticed between the rifles. Number one, for me, most impactful would be the push pins don't require a tool. So the A1, you had to have this little tool to kind of push a pin within the pin. It was very annoying. You couldn't just field strip this thing. The pins in this rifle are just like any traditional AR. You just pop them out. So that's a major win. The ambi lower, the bolt release and bolt catch right here is in an amazing position. The lower shelf does make it a little bit hard to push up on it and lock the bolt to the rear, but alas, it is there. You have a mag release on this side, so it's full ambi. But the biggest thing for me is that right-hand bolt release. That's something that I've grown to, it's almost a must-have for me. Other key updates would be the handguard. So on the older A1 series that I had, the front handguard was like massive. It was extremely round, kind of bulbous, not that attractive. The A4 series, this thing has slimmed down. It's much more comfortable to hold. It's much slimmer. It looks great. And then obviously under the rail would be the adjustable gas block. So it has a suppressed setting and a normal setting. Right now we're running in the suppressed mode, obviously, because we have a suppressor on it. So kind of the front end of this thing, big update here is just how comfortable the rail is, as well as M-lock slots all the way out the rail. So there's probably, like I say, other updates. Those are the biggest ones to me as a shooter that I value. The other things in the A4 series, which are really cool, haven't used them yet, would be, I understand H&K guarantees this to be a 1 MOA rifle, so I don't have details on how many rounds or what bullet that is, so it's supposed to be a great shooter. And then I also understand if you shoot this barrel out, H&K will replace it for the lifetime of the rifle, so that's pretty sweet. Have I ever shot a 308 barrel out? No, but I guess in the event that I do, the guarantee is there from H&K. So those are kind of the cool updates to me over the A1 series, and that's ultimately why I decided to purchase this rifle. Now throughout the video, we're gonna look at the performance. Now really quick, before we go any further, if you're watching this, I gotta ask for your help to grow this channel. It's super simple. Hit that subscribe button. Let me know through your subscription that you wanna see more content just like this. It encourages me to pump out new content. It signals to the industry that you value my content. And I tell you what, I've got a ton of awesome content already filmed, edited, and ready to go that I can't wait to share with you. So do me a solid and subscribe. Now with that, let's talk about the gear we're gonna run before we move into the shooting. So obviously the rifle is a factory H&K MR762A4. Straight up out of the box, exactly how they come. Up front, I did install a can on it. So this is gonna be my Texas Flood suppressor from Fletcher Rifle Works. This is gonna be a titanium 30 caliber can. Now it's pretty cool in that it's hub. So I'm using a Huxworks mount. So there's a Huxworks brake under here. Then there's a Huxworks mount, and then the can attaches to that. So super solid lockup right here. The Huxworks actually has this cool reverse threading where you kind of lock the can with the collar here. It won't rotate off. So Titanium 30 caliber can. If you find yourself interested in the Texas Flood, make sure you use my code MULLETS over at Fletcher Rifle Works, because that'll save you 10% off of your cart. You'll notice up front, I'm running the vented end cap. There's a vented and a solid end cap on this, but I figure with the HK, we'll vent it out. I don't need back pressure, and you know, it's pretty solid. This thing, it's actually quite a light can, so that is one reason I wanted to put on this rifle. Hey, really quick, while on the topic of suppressors, let me cut in here and just give a shout out to one of the newest channel supporters, being Silencershop. So Silencershop has come on board with the channel to basically be my sponsor of all of my NFA activities. So that would be suppressor transfers, SBR, Form 1s, etc. Really excited about that for a couple of reasons. Number one, I've been a customer of Silencershop for a long time now. So the opportunity to work with someone that you've done business with and you are confident in their process with is extremely exciting. So I want to mention this suppressor. This is the Knights CRS PRG CQB. I just got it, so I ordered it, I believe, from Rooftop Defense. It came in, and the really cool thing about Silencershop is their online process, their profile, and their single shot trust. So my profile is saved through the Silencershop system. So they got my fingerprints, my pictures, all of my questions answered. When this unit comes in, your shop is going to move it into inventory. They can contact you, and you can go through the form submission process without even being there. So for example, the really cool thing about this one, using the Silencershop process, I was on the road traveling for work. I was able to submit my paperwork on this while being on the road. And then by the time I got home later that week, because approval times are crazy fast right now, this thing was already approved. So I was able to get home from my work trip, forms were already submitted, I had my approval, swung by the gun shop, picked it up, and here we are running it. So just want to give a shout out to Silencershop, really appreciate their support. And it's really awesome to be able to represent something like Silencershop where you've already done a ton of business with them and you believe in their product. So thank you to Silencershop. There's no better time than right now to get into NFA, and Silencershop is making it easier than ever. This is not a light rifle by any means, but it is lighter than the A1. So they did shave some weight out of this thing between the A1 and the A4, so that's a win. Up top, for an optics package, this is going to be a setup that I feel makes a ton of sense on a gas gun like this, where I'm shooting out to 1,000 yards. This is going to be the Element Nexus 4 to 25 mil rifle scope. So Utah Airguns provided this to me, but 4 to 25 is the perfect range for, say, a 308 DMR style rifle. But the footprint of this is what I really like. It's a 30 millimeter tube, a little bit lighter, a little bit shorter, so I can still run clip-on night vision up front. Badger Ordnance, Condition 1 mount, and then up top, throughout this video, we're going to be ranging with the Maztec X4 LRF 2K. So this unit has onboard applied ballistics, so we're going to be using that ballistic solver within the unit to range the target, pull in weather through the onboard weather, and then get our firing solution to shoot out to distance. Final piece, I do need to shout out Scopemate, this S28 camera here. So if you've been around my channel, you've seen me have some issues previously with my scope cameras. They've not proven to be that reliable. I got connected with Scopemate through Instagram and acquired the S28. That's what I'm going to be filming with in this video. So far, I'm happy with the camera. It's held up more than one day on the range so far, which is a win. And it uses an 18650 rechargeable battery. So that is what the scope image is going to be. I've also noticed it works well with the night vision. So far, happy with the Scopemate. I've had it now maybe a month, so a number of range trips. For ammo in the video, the last piece here, I do want to mention the ammo, or the bulk of the ammo that we're going to be shooting in this video, will be hand loads using the 175 Sierra Match King bullet. That 175 SMK is an amazing bullet. It's easy to hand load, so the hand load is going to be 175 SMK loaded to mag length, powder charge. I'm running Varget in this one actually to get the velocity where it should be for a 16-inch barrel, and we're going to send it. So I don't really have the time or the energy to dedicate precision loads to each rifle. I have one 308 load that shoots well, and that's what we're going to run. Shout out to Sierra for their longtime support of my channel. I wouldn't be able to pump out this amount of content without their support. Now you're also going to see me shoot groups at 100 yards using a couple of other bullets, and those will be for accuracy testing, but for the long range performance, that's all going to be the 175 SMK. So from here, let's move down to the 100-yard line, give you a look at how she groups with a handful of different bullets, shoot some steel out at distance, and then we'll wrap up right here with my thoughts. Let's take a close-up look at the performance of the MR762A4 at 100 yards. Now I fired a number of rounds from a handful of different loads, so we have a good idea of what the accuracy potential of this rifle is. Now first up, let me talk about the hand load that I'm going to be shooting in this video. That's the 175 SMK on top of some Varget. It's meant to clone, say, M118 LR or Federal Gold Medal Match 175. Now I started out cold bore out of the day, was this round right here, just a little bit low and left of the dot. It is worth noting, I was actually out last night with the rifle. I used it to film some night vision content for a different video, so I had a rough 0. So cold bore landed here, and then the next 5 rounds that I fired landed right here, low and left. The cold bore actually was kind of in the ballpark of that group. If you take these 5 right here, those measure 1.75 MOA. I then immediately moved over and fired the next 5 rounds. I did adjust my 0. I moved some windage here. I believe it was 4/10, and fired these 5 rounds right here. Same load. Those went into a group of 1.2 MOA. From here, I think I did tweak the 0 just a bit before I shot the rest of the groups. So there's 2 5-round groups right here. I ran the chronograph for those 11 rounds, and my hand loads averaged 24.67 with an extreme spread of 26 and an SD of 8.6. So velocity-wise, I'm happy with that. That's decent consistency. Next up, I went around the paper firing my different loads. I ended up and finished with 5 more rounds of the same hand loads. I just wanted to check my 0 and see what the rifle did when it got warm. That would be these. So these were the last 5 rounds I fired at the 100-yard line. These 5 went into a group that measured 1.06 MOA, or right at 1 MOA. Now, if we measure and average these 3 5-round groups using my hand load, they average 1.3 MOA, just a little over 1.25. In my opinion, that's great accuracy from an autoloader. So that's what we're going to be shooting at to distance. Step back, after I fired my hand loads here, tweaked the 0, I moved up and fired 5 rounds of the Hornady American Gunner 155, and those landed here into a beautiful group. That group measures 0.74 MOA for a 5-round group, so potential with the lighter bullets. Average speed of 25.11, which in my opinion is slow for 155s. Extreme spread of 24.4 and an SD of 9.8. So this would be a pretty promising load, and it's priced pretty reasonable. I then fired 5 rounds of the Federal Gold Medal Match 168 load here. Those went into a group that measured 1.28 MOA, or just over 1.25. Average speed of 24.60, which is a little bit slow for a 168. Extreme spread of 28 and an SD of 9.3. Again, solid potential there with 168. Then we move over and fired 5 rounds that went into the smallest group, and those were the Berger 175s. That group is 0.69 MOA, so really nice group there. You can see point of impact is very similar to where the other 175s were. Average speed of 24.92, extreme spread of 36.6, and an SD of 13.2. So a little bit large on the spread there of velocity, but accuracy was beautiful. And then I fired 5 rounds of the Winchester M118 LR load. Kind of a vertical spread here, which I thought was interesting. 0.99 MOA, or right at 1. Average speed of 24.98, extreme spread of 48, and an SD of 17.2. So that's pretty poor velocity consistency. That's normal for that load though, but accuracy again was pretty decent, just a little bit vertical. Everything else was nice and round here. Now, you take all the groups that I fired, there were 7 of them here. You average them out. So 7 times 5 is 35 rounds, average 1.1 MOA. My opinion, that's really decent accuracy. You see potential there from the light 155s all the way up to the heavy 175s. Seems like an accurate rifle. From here, let's push out and start engaging some steel at distance and see how she does. Here we go on steel. Got a 2/3 dipstick on the right and a full sizer on the left. We should be in the ballpark of, I don't know, 450 yards or so. Let's get on it in range here. 475 is calling for 3.1 mils of elevation. It's almost dead calm, so we'll just go straight up. The left. Let's hit the big one. Oh. Pulled a little bit high, but there we are at 475. Just hammering. Here we go, off on my favorite rocks. Let's go ahead and load it up and try to engage. Couple of targets out there. Magazine's hitting the rocks. All right. So we'll get on them here and range them. 661 yards is calling for 5.5 mils of elevation. Let's actually just hold that instead of dial it. And I'm just going to go straight up. It's almost dead calm. Alright, let's try the 2/3. I'm going to cheat just a little bit right. Back. Right edge. Too much, huh? Back, full size. All right, we've proven that. Too easy here at 660. Let's keep going. How about a field position off of the tripod? So with that, let me get out here and point at our target. 847 yards is calling for 8.8. Dial that up. All right, we should be good there. It's almost very calm out, so let's just go straight up on it. See what happens here. Okay, let's come down 3/10. Now off that right edge. Back. 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 Try the 2/3. Back. Left edge. Right edge. Back to the full size. Back. Impact. So there we are, 850 yards just hammering. I want a rifle like this to be able to perform on, say, a torso out to about 1,000 yards. So let's see how she does in that exact application. So let's just point out there at the target, range it. 1050. It's calling for 12.6 mils, which I'll dial on. And I put in a 2-mile-an-hour wind from about the 2 o'clock. There's just a little bit of a breeze out here. Nothing major, and that's calling for right 0.1. So we'll just favor, say, right edge of plate, not off plate. Impact. 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 I'm not sure, that one flashed. Center up on the plate. Might have gone off the right edge. Back. Let's try the little torso. I'm just gonna go straight up on it. Just off the left edge. Impact on the little torso. Back. Hopefully it doesn't impact. Yeah, I just heard it. Let's try the little one again. Just off the left edge. Just off the right. What a run there at 1,050 yards. The full-size IPSC, very doable. We even tagged the small one. So let's wrap up. You gotta let me know what you think about the accuracy of this rig. And there you have it, an in-depth look at the MR762A4, 100-yard groups, performance out to 1,000 yards. Now I cannot wait to hear what your thoughts are about this rifle. I tell you what, I stand by my comment. H&K has nailed it with this thing. So this rifle, if I remember right, retails for like $4,500. So in no way is this a cheap rifle. This is an expensive rifle by all means, but I tell you what, the performance is there. I'm really impressed with it. And kind of the key things that stick out to me would be the accuracy of the rifle. So let's talk about my experience with it. Now while I'm doing that, let me know what you thought. So at the 100-yard line, you saw me shoot a number of different groups. The key thing that sticks out to me, 35 rounds, multiple bullet weights, different loads. You average out those 5-round groups, 35 rounds, 1.1 MOA. So she is right there at the HK guarantee. And I highly doubt that the HK guarantee is 1 MOA across 35 rounds where the barrel is getting hot, the can is getting hot, shooters are getting fatigued. So accuracy-wise, pretty solid. The best group was the 175 Burger at something like 0.6 or 0.7 MOA. And the worst group actually was my first 5-round group of the day at 1.7 MOA with my 175 hand load. I did think it was interesting. That was the worst group, being the first group I fired, and then everything else tightened up from there. So you average out those 3 175 SMK hand load groups, so 15 rounds, that was 1.3 MOA, which for me, a gas gun like that, plenty accurate. For the type of shooting I do, that'll get the job done. So 100-yard accuracy, I would say the potential is there for that HK guarantee of 1 MOA. Job well done. We then push out and shoot steel. 475 yards, we hammered the 2/3 IPSC, hammered the full-size IPSC. So the way I employed this rifle in this video was a DMR style rifle. So, you know, slightly larger torsos, practical targets, etc. Trying to shoot things rapidly. In my mind, that's where this rifle makes sense. This is not a bolt gun precision rifle. This is a get on target and put rounds down range quickly. That's how we employed it. So 475, no problem off of the 4-wheeler. Move back to 650 yards again. No problems connecting on the 2/3 IPSC or the full-size IPSC. The Maztec arranged it, the drop was spot on. Great performance right there as the sun was setting. 850 off of the tripod. Again, a number of impacts, very shootable from these, you know, non-prone positions. Able to spot my impacts down range, recoil was controllable, hit percentage was high. And then finally we wrapped up at 1,050 yards, where I was actually shocked with the performance. So 1,050 yards, sun was setting, range it with the Maztec, and if I remember correctly, I think we had a first-round impact on the full-size IPSC, which is actually nuts, with a 16-inch 308. And then we determined it was not a fluke, because we hammered that full-size IPSC at 1,050 yards. We also moved over and put a round on the 2/3 IPSC, which is a 12-inch by 20-inch plate, so much smaller, at 1,050 yards. So from an accuracy perspective, the rifle shoots. It shoots really, really well. That kind of generic hand load I put together is a performer. So that's my review of the accuracy. I am really, really happy with it. Now, from there, what are my thoughts on the rifle? So I have a number of thoughts, but the thing I'm going to do is just kind of chat through the pros and cons as they come to me. So the pros of the rifle. Number one, accuracy. So we talked about it. It is an accurate rifle, and it is fun to shoot. Number two, recoil impulse. So I have run in the normal setting with a can and then flipped it over suppressed. I can't say I notice a major difference in the recoil impulse, but I can say I like the recoil impulse of this rifle. It feels different than my direct impingement rifles. I can't explain why, but it's really fun to shoot. It's very manageable. It's quite comfortable. It's not fatiguing. It's actually a nice recoil impulse. So that would be a pro to me, is how it feels to shoot this rifle, whether it's off the tripod, kind of off of the 4-wheeler, or prone. Quite controllable. Then from there, obviously this is a gas piston rifle, so how clean this bolt stays and how, you know, you don't get a ton of blowback there in the receiver. Now there's some with a suppressor, but it's nowhere near as nasty as a direct impingement. So when you take this rifle apart to clean it, you don't just immediately get filthy hands. You don't get filthy hands by messing with the receiver right here where gas is blowing out. I like that. Now that's just MR762s in general with the gas piston. The next thing I'm going to mention is the receiver lockup. The receiver lockup right here is amazingly tight. And I cannot say that about my other 308 gas guns that I have, aside from some of the Palmetto State Armories, which are very tight. But this thing, there is zero play between the receivers. And that is something that I find a ton of value in. That's a win. I already mentioned the right-hand bolt release right here, kind of under your trigger finger, is a little bit tricky to push up on it to lock the bolt to the rear, but you obviously can do that. Ooh, we'll lock the charging handle back. Then you just push it down to release the bolt. So from the controls, big fan. I like where this is positioned. I like the way it works. An advantage over, say, my Knights, because you can actually lock the bolt to the rear with that. That's a win. You know, the other wins about this rifle, obviously I mentioned earlier the updates over the A4, the way the handguard feels, and the ability to run M-LOK. So it's got M-LOK all the way out to the end. You can see I have an ARCA plate installed to run that MDT bipod. That is very, very nice. So M-LOK is very current, a big improvement over the older A1 that I had. So I would say those are the big things that stick out to me. There's a number of probably other kind of minute things, but those are the key things. Obviously the performance is there, the ergonomics are there, and it's a fun rifle to shoot. Now what are the negatives? And there definitely are some negatives. So number one, the biggest negative to me is the trigger. Not impressed. That trigger, it's a 2-stage trigger, which I like. And it's a decent pull weight, but there's a ton of mush there. So to fire a precision group, you really have to focus and have a nice trigger squeeze. The weight with the mush make me rate the trigger fairly low. That's the biggest negative that sticks out in my mind. Right now, I'm not aware of any aftermarket solutions to swap that trigger out. Geisley, if you're watching, I'll buy the first one. So trigger, that's a big one. Number two, the stock. For precision use, this doesn't really do it for me. So as like a nice, maybe middle ground DMR, it probably works fine. There is a little bit of movement in the stock up and down, especially when you move it to the very rear setting. So here you can see there's some play in that stock. There's not a good way to mount a bag rider on this stock. So I like a bag rider on my B5s. There's not a way to do that. You don't have a ton of footprint right here on your bag. And with that, as this thing slides back on your bag, it also dips down. So under recoil, you get a lot of this motion versus just a flat slide. I'm not aware of an aftermarket solution given how large this buffer tube is. So stock would be kind of a negative for me. The next negative I'll mention would be on this side of the handguard. These bolts are aggressive. So these two bolts right here, obviously they mount the handguard, makes it easy to swap the handguard out if you want to change it, but they are not comfortable, and they are right where you hold this rifle. So your hand, you know, if you're trying to carry this, your hand naturally sits right here. And like in this position, those two bolts are digging into my hand, not that comfortable. So I'm not sure why HK maybe didn't round those off, kind of the head of that or whatever, but from a comfort standpoint, not that great. And then the other thing, kind of a negative about the 417 or the MR762 is the magazines. Yeah, they're reliable. They're not priced terrible. They're like $50 or $60, I think. So they're kind of expensive compared to a PMag. But the problem is they don't fit in SR25 carriers. So if you're gonna go with a 417 like this, you're gonna have to run different mag carriers. So that is kind of a bummer. I got that battle belt set up from American Operator Gear, which I've been kind of practicing with for the matches coming up this summer. And I can't run these mags in those carriers. So performance-wise, good. Fitting into your gear, kind of a negative. So with that, those are kind of the key things that come to my mind. Again, there's probably more. There's going to be other reviewers that publish content on these rifles, but that's my take on it. I'm very happy with my purchase on this rifle. This is maybe one of my favorite 308 gas guns to shoot right now. It is an absolute blast to shoot. I really like the recoil impulse, and the accuracy is there. The ability to shoot multiple different bullet weights is really, really solid. So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you want to see me do with this rifle in future content, because I want to keep pumping out the content you want to see, and I got to get your feedback to do it. So with that, join you in the next one.